Hey guys, Redneck Mini 14 here, and today I want to talk about concealed carry options, and more specifically, I want to talk about what you should look out for when you're buying your first concealed carry pistol or revolver. The reason I'm wanting to talk about this today is because my girlfriend is currently considering going for her CCW, and she really needs to figure out what type of gun she should carry. And there's a lot of factors that go into this, so I figured this would be a great topic for a video. So, in my last video, I actually brought a few of my pistols out for her to try to see what type of gun she likes shooting and what type of gun she likes to shoot the best. So I took out my Walther PPK, that's a 380 ACP, took out my Car K9, that's a 9mm, and then I took out my recently acquired Smith & Wesson 39-2, that is also a 9mm. This one is not exactly the ideal size that I suggest for her, but I wanted her to try out the actual firing mechanism to see if she actually likes shooting it. And between these three pistols, I think she liked that one the best. The only downfall with this one is because it jammed a couple of times, and I think that's just because it's an old gun. It's got some extractor problems. It probably needs a new extractor or an extractor spring or whatever. So I'll have to look into that. But as far as the actual gun goes, I think she shot that one the best. She liked shooting the Car, but she just couldn't hit anything, and that's because I think the Car might shoot low or high or something. I couldn't figure out where the Car actually hits, so we'll have to figure out where it hits. But as far as like shootability and how she handled recoil and everything, I think she did that one quite well. She did not like the PPK. Now, it might just be because the PPK is a little bit small and it's hard to hold on to. But as far as recoil goes, it looks like she handled that recoil quite well. So, yeah. But anyway, that goes into, what should you consider when you're getting your first concealed carry pistol? And one of the things is, obviously, is it going to be a good size? Like, is it going to be too much weight or too much bulk on your hip or in your pants pocket or in the small of your back or wherever you choose to carry it? Is the gun that you choose going to be the right size for that, or is it going to be too big? For instance, I personally have been known to carry a full-size pistol, even bigger than this Smith & Wesson here, and I did it quite well. But I always did it in the wintertime, and that doesn't really, carrying a big pistol like this, or, a Ruger P Series is what I usually would carry. Trying to carry a big pistol like this in the summertime when you're in, just jeans or shorts and a t-shirt, it's not ideal. It's hard to conceal in the summertime, but, in the wintertime when you got a big coat on, and you're wearing multiple layers, it's a lot easier to conceal. But for the summertime, I picked up this Car, and I think this Car K9 is a much better option for summer carry because it's a lot smaller, it's slimmer, it's just more concealable, and it's lighter than those bigger guns that I was carrying before, because I would only really carry them in the wintertime, and in the summertime I really wouldn't carry anything because I just didn't have anything at the time that was small enough to carry. I didn't really buy this for concealed carry. I just bought this because I liked it. But the Walther PPK, as far as size goes, it would be a great concealed carry pistol because it's very concealable. It's not the most concealable. It's not the smallest and lightest pistol out there to carry by any means, but it's definitely small. It's smaller, just a little bit smaller than the Car. But of course it's a 380, it's not as powerful, but that's another thing to consider is how well can you shoot the gun that you buy for concealed carry. And that also goes in line with the size of the gun and the concealability, but also how well can you shoot that small concealable pistol or revolver. For instance, this is a Taurus 85, it's a 38 special. It's a fairly easy revolver to shoot. It's small, it's compact, it's fairly light. I mean, it's still an all steel revolver. So, I mean, there are small, well, not necessarily smaller, but there are definitely lighter revolvers out there. You know, the Ruger LCR, Smith & Wesson Airweights, things like that. But this being all steel, yeah, it is heavier, but it also makes it easier to control when you're shooting. Now, along with that, that's obviously a 38 special. This is a Ruger SB 101. This is a 357 Magnum. You know, similar size revolver, might be a little bit bigger and heavier than the Taurus, but you know, something like this is going to be more uncontrollable to shoot. So if you're recoil sensitive, you may not choose, if you're going with a revolver anyway, if you may not choose to go with a 357 Magnum. They do make a 38 special version of this, but you know, even if you get a 357 Magnum, you might still choose to shoot 38 special for your practice or your concealed carry. I know a lot of people practice, you know, they'll practice with just regular 38 special, and then they'll carry either 38 plus P, or they'll carry 357 Magnum. I don't necessarily think that's a good idea because, you know, yeah, you're practicing with that cheaper, lighter recoiling ammo, and you're able to control it. But let's say you pull it out for an actual defensive situation, and the ammo you have is a lot more powerful, a lot more heavy recoil than what you're practicing with. You're not going to be able to control that gun as well as when you were practicing. So that's something to consider. You should practice with some cheaper, you know, full metal jacket ammo, stuff like that, just for cost reasons. But every once in a while, you should still put actual, you know, full loads, what you're planning on carrying, through the gun, especially if it's a pistol, like, you know, semi-automatic pistol like the car here. You definitely want to shoot the actual ammunition that you're going to carry for a couple of reasons. One, for the recoil reason, like I just said, you want to make sure you can actually handle that recoil, but you also want to make sure that the, you know, hollow point ammunition that you're shooting through this gun, that the gun can actually cycle it. A lot of times when you buy a gun and you start shooting jacketed hollow points through it, it'll jam, because maybe those particular hollow points don't work well in that pistol. Now, if you don't practice, at least every once in a while, with that ammunition, you're not going to know if the gun is, you know, is good for that ammunition. You don't know if it's going to jam, or you don't know if it's going to run flawlessly. You have to run that ammunition in your gun, and if it doesn't work, well, then you don't carry with that ammunition. Or if you can't get any hollow points to function in your gun, you either don't carry that gun and get another gun, or you carry full metal jacket, which is not the best idea. Defensive rounds are very proven rounds. Full metal jacket is not the most ideal. It's not the worst, but it's not the most ideal. Now, I know a lot of people with 380, they'll carry full metal jacket just because, you know, they claim that hollow point ammunition and 380 is not that good. I don't necessarily know that I agree with that. Now, with this gun, I have heard that hollow point ammunition will jam it up, and that the Walther PPK is not great with that kind of ammunition, and that may be true, but I just bought this gun to be a fun gun, so that really doesn't matter to me. If I want to carry it, I'll try out some some jacketed hollow points, see if they function. If not, I'd probably just carry full metal jacket, and this would be more like a backup gun. You know, I'd probably carry either a gun like the car or a bigger gun like that Smith & Wesson, and then carry a gun like this for a backup. Another thing with, you know, making sure you can actually shoot the gun is, say there's a lot of really small, lightweight pistols out there, and I know a lot of people, they'll, you know, like Nut and Fancy is one of these, where he always talks about weight, and, you know, the lighter the better. But I kind of disagree with that. Now, I know that, the smallest lightweight pistols are going to be easier to carry. But if you pull out, say, your Ruger LCP and you're shooting that small, extremely lightweight gun with the same ammunition that this gun shoots, well, that gun, and this is based on personal experience, that gun is a lot more jumpy than this gun. Why? Because that gun is a lot lighter than this gun. Now, if you can handle that recoil in, an LCP or one of those Kel-Tecs, or, any small polymer framed 380, or even like the cars, like the CM9 and stuff, if you can handle that, that's great. But I know a lot of people, especially younger shooters, female shooters, shooters who just in general, maybe they don't have a lot of hand strength. Those smaller, lightweight guns, they're going to be a little more jumpy and they're going to be a little more uncontrollable for them to shoot. So that's another thing you need to consider. And that's why I brought my guns out, just the ones that I have, and for her to try, because if she can't hit the broadside of a barn because the gun has too much recoil for her, well, then that's not the type of gun that she should have. And I don't really have any polymer framed compact or subcompact guns right now. But that doesn't mean that just because a gun is small, lightweight, and polymer frame, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to control it. But especially in those really, really teeny tiny, like 380 pocket pistols, or even like the 9mm, that are just really, really tiny, those things are just really uncontrollable. Even like a metal framed gun, if it's really tiny, and say, I don't have the magazine out here, but say like the PPK here, where it has the magazine that doesn't have the pinky extension, and you only have a 2-finger grip because you can't get your pinky on there, that actually has an effect on recoil as well, because you can't get your full hand on it, and so you don't have a full grip on it. So say something like an LCP, a Kel-Tec P3AT, or some of those little 32 ACP pistols. Those guns are going to be harder to shoot than a gun like, say, this car, or not even if it's like a polymer frame, like a CW9. You still are able to get a full grip on it because it's the same size pistol. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Another thing you want to consider is caliber. You generally want to carry the biggest caliber that you can shoot effectively. And for me, I personally would recommend that a new shooter stick with something in this category. So basically, these guns are either 9mm, they're 38 special, or they're 380 ACP. And I know that's a 357 Magnum over there, but you can still just shoot 38 special, or there's even a 38 special version of that gun that only shoots 38. And if you work your way up to 357 Magnum and you're more proficient with it, then yeah, go with the 357 Magnum. But say like 44 Magnum or 10mm, or what else is like a really powerful gun? 45 ACP in the semi-automatic world. Guns like that. A new shooter generally is not going to shoot those as well as some of these smaller calibers, and these are still perfectly lethal calibers. 380 is probably the lowest I would go for a primary concealed carry. 32 ACP, that's good for a backup, but generally I like to use 9mm, but sometimes people can't shoot 9mm that well, and there's a lot of guns out there that will shoot, or at least there will be similar sized guns between brands and models and stuff that can shoot 380 or 9mm depending on the model. Obviously there's a lot of cars out there that say like a CM9, there's a similar sized car that'll shoot a 380. It'll be probably a little bit smaller, but you can still get guns like that in 380, or like Ruger, they have the LC 380 and the LC9S, EC9S, whatever they call it now. But again, that is something to consider. I don't recommend getting a 44 Magnum for concealed carry. One, because they're just really big, and two, they're really powerful and they're hard to control, especially in a smaller revolver, like say a snub-nosed revolver like this. That's going to be very uncontrollable, especially for a fairly new shooter. You know, somebody like me, I've been shooting for a while. I don't shoot all that often, but I don't think I would ever concealed carry a 44 Magnum. That's more of a hunting round for me. But yeah, I think those are really all the considerations I have for you. Obviously, capacity is another thing. You know, if you can get a gun, a similar size gun, like say you get a double stack gun the same size as this, and it holds twice as many rounds. That's another thing to consider. Is 7 plus 1 going to be enough for you? Is 6 plus 1 going to be enough for you? Is 5 rounds in a revolver going to be enough for you? Obviously, you can carry extra magazines. You can carry speed loaders, speed strips. Some people may even carry just some loose rounds. That's not really a good idea, but some people might. But yeah, that's another thing to consider. Is capacity an important thing to you? Is having a safety an important thing to you? Now, personally, I don't think a safety is a good thing to have on a concealed carry weapon. Just because generally, especially if you're a newer shooter, you tend to forget about that safety, and you see it in movies all the time. You hear about it on the you just hear about it all the time, where like somebody pulls a gun out and it's got a safety, like say this Walther here, it's got a safety, and they pull it out and they can't shoot because they forgot about the safety. So yeah, that's definitely a training thing, and I know a lot of people worry about having a safety, and that's all on you and your opinion. But I personally don't think a safety is the best thing out there. There are trigger safeties, there are safeties like this, thumb safeties, there's grip safeties. Some guns have a little tab on the back that you have to depress. That's probably the best safety out there for somebody who's worried about having a safety, because you can't shoot the gun unless you have your hand on the gun the right way. So anyway, all these are just considerations that you should look out for when buying a concealed carry pistol or revolver. So I hope this helps, and hopefully my fiance will find a gun that she really likes, a gun that she really can shoot well, and one that she can conceal carry. So anyway, that's all for that video. Subscribe to my channel, like me on Facebook. I'm Redneck Mini 14, and until next time, be safe.